Monikah Ogando, I am your host for Spiritual Matters Thursdays. Today we're talking about who or what do you call God? This is not going to be the conversation that you think it is. Because, wait, hold on, let me tell you why. Because you know how one of our tenets here at the Daily Huddle is to audit your assumptions? Today, we are auditing assumptions. We should be auditing assumptions every day, but today, especially, we're going to audit assumptions. So, just to check your temperature. I don't know why it goes in and out sometimes, and it gets blurry. We're gonna let it ride. Just to check your temperature. Who or what do you call God? How would you answer that question without any further exploration of the conversation? How would you answer that? Put it in the chat. Tell me who or what you call God right now. Maybe you use the word God. Maybe you use a different name. Tell me. Put that in the chat. Who's got something? Do you say God? Do you say Allah? Do you say Buddha? Do you say divine intelligence, love, source, spirit, universe? Who or what do you call God? So let me give you some stuff to think about while I'm waiting for the chat to populate, because apparently y'all don't want to answer. Oh, Father God. Okay. All right. I use Father, Mother God as well, interchangeably. Awesome. Let me give you some ideas to think about. Let me give you some questions to contemplate. The positive attributes that you assign to God, universe, Father, etc. Positive attributes. Think on those. Write those down. Put those in the chat. Maybe you say loving, forgiving, grace, unconditional. Maybe you say, oh, jealous. Jealous God. Okay. Jealous and loving. Okay. All right. And so the positive attributes, that's interesting because I said positive attributes. The positive attributes that you assign to who you call God, I'm going to suggest that those are attributes you felt loved by when you were growing up by your caregivers, whether those were your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever was in charge of loving you, raising you, feeding you, clothing you, etc. How they showed up that way, you consider that to be love. You know, maybe they were that jealous thing, maybe they were protective, right? Maybe they were watchful. And the negative aspects of whoever was your caregiver, that's the problem you have with God. So maybe your caregivers, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whatever, were authoritarian. What I say goes, you don't argue with me, I'm your father, I'm your mother, go do as you're told. Maybe that's one. Maybe another one could be that they were emotionally manipulative. When you didn't do what they wanted you to do, they stonewalled you, or they gave you the silent treatment, or they gave you a guilt trip, or They compared you to an older or younger sibling, or they talked about you in front of you to another family member, kind of like public humiliation of sorts. If you went through any of that, because, welcome to the human condition. We all have gone through some positive and negative attributes of our caregivers, parents, etc. If you went through any of that, that's typically the beef you have with God. You know, let me give you an example of how one of them may play out. Let's say that the way you got love when you were in your family of origin. Oh, it's because it's on high. Hold on. Let's say that the way that you got love in your family of origin was you had to do certain things. You had to do your homework, you had to make your bed, you had to eat your vegetables, you had to do your chores, and preferably with no mouth. Like, just do what you're told and don't give me any trouble. Don't talk back. Don't, fight with your sister, whatever the case may be, and we'll be fine. So if you checked off certain boxes, you were going to be the golden child for that day, at least in your household, in your family. And somehow you have extrapolated that that's also the deal that you have with your divine father, divine mother. That if you do certain things that you're told you're supposed to do, be a good person and you're generous and you're loving and non-judgmental and blah, 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 that you'll get the boon of a good life. Whether that's abundance, whether that's loving relationships, whether that's respect to the community, et cetera, et cetera. I call it the story of Job. Job did everything right. And then somebody just decided to pick on this man just for sport. And God let him. Like two pimps talking about a prostitute on the street. And so I want you what I'm wanting you to do is to connect the way that you were raised and loved and cared for in your 0 to 7 to your perspective, unless you've challenged it, to your perspective about what God is or isn't. And the way that you get in God's good graces, unless you've challenged this notion, if you've done some challenge work, if you've done some check yourself before you wreck yourself work, then this might not apply. You may have evolved out of it. But if you have not, the way that you get God's love is the way that you got dad's love or mom's love or grandma or grandpa's love. And the way that you are a quote unquote good person from a divine, from a spiritual perspective, is the way that you got to be a good boy, a good girl when you were growing up. And for most of us, that means perform. Make your bed, eat your vegetables, get good grades. You know what I mean? Don't give me too much trouble, especially if you were one of many. If you had many siblings, or if your parents had a lot of stress and things to think about, etc., then one of the ways that you got love was by being unproblematic. And so when you evolve into your relationship with the divine, then one of the ways that you are unproblematic is by not asking too many questions. And in fact, some of your questions may seem or may be deemed or labeled blasphemous or faithless because you're asking too many questions, you're raising too much trouble. Right? Does any of this resonate with anybody? Are you like, or are you like, or are you like, that don't make no sense? Like, I'm checking for your temperature. Where you at with this? Somebody say something in the comments or raise your hands. I want to exchange with you. Okay, what do you mean thought-provoking? Okay, it's reaching me. Got it.
So, Doc, am I getting this correct in saying that what you're actually asking us to do is to consider our personal experiences with our parents
Mm-hmm.
and recognize how in some ways those experiences are the way we expect the experience with God to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Can you
are you
see the
actually
parallels?
hmm
Can you see the parallels?
I can.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes,
Give
I
me one
can.
of them. Give me one of them.
And I think you gave a great one. As I've gotten older, I don't mind asking questions to God right now, and I'll go right to say, God, why you do that? You know, I don't get that. You know, it used to be a time that I thought that it was sinful to even have a question like that in my mind because we were told that it was.
Mm-hmm.
You don't question God. You know, you don't disagree with stuff. I got a whole lot of stuff I read in the Bible. I said, man, get out. I don't believe that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, really,
Yes. Yes.
and there was a time when I wouldn't even dare let my mind continue to thought that I'm going to continue thinking I don't believe that, you
Yes.
know, because it was just wrong. I'm going to hell just for having that thought,
Hey.
right?
Yeah.
So I got to arrest that thought real quickly. But
Mhm.
I mean, it's a lot of stuff that I question, and plenty of stuff that I actually just totally don't agree with. I was saying, man, they saying that person was somebody of God, and this is the stuff that they did. They're saying this stuff person was a prophet, and this is the stuff that he said
Right.
God told him to do. I say, really? He really thought God told him to do that?
Right.
And I'll say, and I say, God, hey, listen, God, if I'm wrong, I know you'll direct me to the right answers because
Mhm.
I'm only doing it because I really want to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Good. Good. Thank you for that. Who else? How's this hitting you?
I can play,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if I'm inside of the context that you want me to be, because I got a little bit late on the call. Um, so let me know. But when I look at my relationship with what I say God is, and I've seen the evolution of that relationship. But what this conversation is triggering for me is what it's my initial relationship with what I thought God is. And it was more like the parent of my parents,
Uh-huh.
not quite like my parents, because my parents would have been they were they were too young for me to see them as parents. But so I saw God as the parent of my parents. So God knew what's right and what's wrong, and also the untouchable one, like Stan was pointing to, that I've got to find a way to get in his good graces. Otherwise, I'm not only in trouble on earth, but on eternity. Um, so that's the real trouble. And so but at the same time, if I was in his or her good graces, then you know, God would be a friend. Like it would guide me
Mm-hmm.
in the right path. But if I mess up, it would leave me
Mm-hmm.
deal with life itself. It's got kind of like the initial relationship, not the one that has evolved, but certainly the initial relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. I like that what you said, your parents were too young and you kind of saw God a little bit like the observer or supervisor or the one that was really in charge or helping us all figure it out or something like that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, the one that knew better. It's my parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The one that knew better. I like how you put that. Thank you for that. Thank you, Giovanni. Right. And then how do you get answers from the one that knows better? Do you ask? Is it in prayer? Is it in meditation? Is it in journaling? Like, how do you communicate with this source of wisdom?
You're asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Okay, cool. I'll answer, and I also see Rashida's hand.
Yeah.
Um, that it has also evolved, but initially was through, it was a relationship that only got built when I was sad.
Oh, say more about that.
Like, I didn't know, I suppose I didn't know that that I could have a relationship with what I say God is without suffering. Like, it was my mentor for suffering. If I was suffering, then I could say, God, what is it that I don't see, or help me, or I need some money, like I want ice cream. If I needed something, um, but if things were going great, then it was like, oh, you go be busy with someone else who's suffering. I'm all right now, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was sad a lot, so it was a close relationship for sure in that context of sadness. But now that you're having me think, I'm actually having a cool moment right now for myself, because I'm thinking, wow, I was close to God a lot. I was always in this constant conversation of reflection. And when I asked myself, why is this happening to me? I wasn't asking me necessarily. I was like asking God.
Yeah.
And it was cool. Yeah.
Wow. I like this distinction that you made because I don't know that we would have the words for it, let alone admit it, that we go to God when we suffer. When everything is okay, it's like, I'm good. Go handle somebody who has it worse or who's got real problems. Right now I'm all right. Like God is the universe's troubleshooter, if you will.
Yeah, tech
Complaint
support.
department. What'd you say?
Tech support.
Tech support. Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah, that's really good. I don't until you said it that way, I don't know that I would have explained that part of it, like the fix it, Jesus, fix it, God kind of relationship. Thank you, Giovanni. That was really, really good. That was good. Rashida, you've
Uh,
got your hand up.
Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Hi.
When you start this morning with a question, you let me always, you pick my brains, you make me go through a rabbit hole. Forget about the rabbit hole; it's too small to go through there. But
Mhm.
it took me back to my childhood. Um, always raised into a Christian home. My mom was a Seventh-day Adventist. My grandmother was a Church of God lady, and they used to go into this tantrum. For me, it's tantrum. But when I got to be, I would say, 12 years old, I was still in the Seventh-day Adventist setting, and I went to my mom and said, Mom, I don't want to go back to church. She said, how dare you? You live in my household. You got to go where I tell you to go. Anyway, I called my oldest sister and I say, you think I can move in with you? She says, what? You want my mom? She said, what? You want my mom come and kill me? No, 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 no. Don't even try it. Because if I get out of the house for the same reason, not to get killed, and you gonna come now, moving with me to let my mom come and kill me? No way. So she said, why? I said, because I don't want to keep going back to church.
Yeah.
And she said, what? You're not gonna keep going back to church? Your mom gonna kill you. But it's why I say in this point and I'm going through this is because eventually I moved out of my mom's house at 12 years old, moved to
Mhm.
my sister, and my
Mhm.
sister started to sit with my mom and said, what you prefer? She go to a different church, keep going to church, or go on the street. And my mom say, "Oh, I don't care. I don't want. I see this disrespect my home. She disrespect my upbringing." And I didn't care because in my spirituality, that's where it started.
Mhm.
I started to be that conscious individual at 12
Mhm.
years old. And up to today, matter of fact, yesterday I was speaking to my oldest sister, that the one that I'm moving with. She said, "You know what? You always was different. You have that connection with that spirit. You have that." As a matter of fact, she's doing a 7 days fast because she called me and she said, "What should I do if I want to fast? I really feel that connection. I wanted to give me some idea. You have 33 years fasting. What it is that you feel." I say, "These are individual stuff. This is not the spirituality and the respect that we have for the God, or for that creator, or for that
Mhm.
source. It's come from in. For me, it's come from in. So
Mhm.
my connection with spirit, it's been a journey for lifetime, for life. I love my spirituality. I love the way that I feel when I'm connected to source, when I
Yeah.
connected to spirit. When I walk on my soil outside and I hug the tree, I can feel that strength and that courage and that power that come into my soul. So
Mhm.
everybody say, "How you do it?" I say, "I don't know."
Yeah.
It's just natural. So
Yeah.
when you touch this point, it was like, "Oh my goodness, why she hit home?" And now that I'm fasting, it's so clear and vivid into my soul, into my mind, into my clarity. I see the sun a different way. So
Mhm.
it's too much. It's too much connection to the creator, or to the universe, is what I feel when you started the conversation this morning. So thank you so much for really taking us through this powerful journey. Thank you.
Mhm. Mhm. Awesome. Thank you for that. That's awesome. Thank you, Rashida. Um, here's some questions that I want you to consider for yourself, and you're welcome to answer them here, or in your journal. But here's some questions that I want you to ponder for yourself. Is it possible? Have you considered that the all-knowingness, power, authority, comfort, maybe even, that you assign to your divine older brother, older sister, father, mother, God, is the comfort, wisdom, all-knowingness, authority that you have in your world? You are the God of your reality. Have you considered this?
Is that question for me?
Everybody. No, no, these are questions that I want you to consider. That you may have the answer for them now. You may need to noodle on them a little bit, journal maybe, I don't know, wherever you are, that's okay. You're welcome to share here if you have something. But have you considered that the same attributes that you give to God, like out there somewhere, universal, divine intelligence, God, Father, Mother, da 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 da, are the attributes that you possess in authoring your life, your reality? You are the father, you are the mother, you are the one that decrees a thing and makes it so by the power of your word or by the right of your consciousness. That's question one. Question two. If we were to assume that you are the power and the authority of your own life, how you doing? Would you fire yourself? Or, how we doing? Giovanni, you want to come back on?
I always like to traffic inside of that question.
Uh-huh.
Um, and always confronts me, and I suppose it expands me.
Sure.
The possibility of me being there's like a distinction maybe that I like to navigate with you. But let me tell you how it's landing. The possibility of being God always sends me to, well, that's a terrible title for me because I do a terrible job at that. So, and I suppose it's inside of the context of I gotta do it right. I gotta do life right. And if I gotta do life right, then somebody's gonna need to take that title away from me. I gotta give it to somebody else because because I haven't figured that out. I don't know how to do life right.
Yes. Okay.
Am I the God of my life? The word God confronts me in the context of the way I see the source. But certainly I am the driver of my life. Certainly I am the one who's creating it all. I am the source of it all, the source of the joy and the source of the chaos, and certainly the source of all of it. So of my life. Of life itself, definitely not. But I see myself as the source, as a, what do you call the Jedi in preparation? Like the student of Jedi, like what do you call that? You're not a Jedi, but you are a,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Somebody put it in the chat because I don't remember the name of it, but yes, I know what you
yeah,
said.
Padawan.
One. Uh-huh.
the what?
I don't know how to spell it, but it's called a Padawan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can't pronounce that, but the Padawan, that one. I
Right.
see myself as the one who never be a Jedi, never.
Mhm.
But in the journey of climbing the mountain, being a Jedi, we have a lot of joy. We learn a lot. We become better. But there's no being the Jedi. There's no arriving anywhere. It's kind of like that, and where your question expands me.
This is a good nuanced distinction, Giovanni, because one of the ways in which we cleverly, is that the word I want to use? One of the ways in which we
Arrive,
avoid
avoid.
being the authority, the responsibility in our lives is to cling to this becomingness. You know, that we're never arriving, that we're always becoming, that we're always evolving, that we're always, but even in the becoming, even in the journey, I assert, I'm going to make an assertion, that you are already the God of your creation, and that you may iterate that reality, but that you are always authoring it, right? And so sometimes we say, well, you know, I never arrive, as though that kind of exempts you from ultimate responsibility. But you're always the authority.
In the context in which I see it, it
Mhm.
doesn't exempt me from responsibility.
Okay,
I am the source of my
sure.
life. Just not the source of life, but I am the source of my life, of the way my life looks like in many ways. And
Yeah.
certainly, there are some things that that I have learned to through reflection to manage, to bring wisdom to certain things that have happened in my life that I can't say, well, I source that. I'm I am I'm bringing wisdom to what happened.
Mhm.
Certainly, and I am the source of all of it. The word God always confronts me or always expands me. Like, no, I'm not God of my life. I'm the source of my life. It's interesting, the semantics, maybe it's not semantics, I don't know. But it's interesting. The word God always leaves me like, ugh. When Sorrel uses it, I'm like, so not politically correct. I'm like, God, Sorrel, what are you talking about? Stop saying. Anyway,
That's great. Thank you for that distinction. I appreciate it. Um, all right. All right, you guys. I've given, we have some stuff to think about. Um, the questions. This is the third thing that I wanted to give you. So the first is about you know, the positive and the negative stuff that you attribute to God. How are you embodying those things? And two, if you were the authority of your life, how you doing? would you behavior modify, right? The third thing that I want you to think about, I know that we're a little bit over time, but it's important. The third thing that I want you to think about is the complaints that you have about, injustices in the world, or why does this exist? Why do babies die? Whatever it is that you find inexplicable and incomprehensible about the world. As though the implication of that question is, if you were really God, you'd be handled this, then this wouldn't happen, right? So you must have fallen down on the job. Or there's something that I don't understand about your job description, such that this is possible and you still remain God. How is that? How could this be? So put yourself through the gauntlet. There's only one person in charge of Giovanni Gonzalez's life, and that's Giovanni Gonzalez. Now, are you on your job? Given what you say you desire and you dream and your potential and your abilities and your gifts and your talents and the things that are possible and da-da-da-da. All right? So how come you let this go through the cracks? How come you did this, let this happen, et cetera, right? So put yourself through the gauntlet like you do God too. If you're God, how come there's poverty in the world? If you're God, how come there's homelessness? If you're God, and then, so, okay. If you're the only one in charge of Rashida, if you're the only one in charge of Rashida's life, how come you let this happen? How come you let that happen? Like that, But like not rhetorical, punishing, indicting questions. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you to go there. Like, why did I let that happen? What did I make more important? Maybe I let this happen because I wanted approval from XYZ person. Maybe I let this happen because I didn't really believe that I had it in me to actually do anything about it. Maybe I let this happen because whatever. Go down that rabbit hole with yourself. Do this in your journal, do this with a trusted friend. What you'll discover is that you will have far more compassion and empathy for the journey that other people are going through, that you may not understand, that you may not have full visibility into, because you have visibility into yours, and you know the payoffs and the prices that you're paying for living your life the way you're living it. And so who or what do you call God? I have a mirror. You might want to use that. So thank you all for being here with us. Remember, of course, to love generously and abundantly and give of your time, your energy, your attention. Exercise. Twerking is a Kundalini raising exercise. Don't trip. Sleep at least 7 to 9 hours. Eat more plant-based, stress less, and of course, audit your assumptions. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Peace.
Happy